All right, so today I want to talk to you about masculine energy versus feminine energy. And really, what I want to talk to you about is toxic masculine energy, because it's not masculine energy that's bad, it's toxic masculine energy. And I want to say that if you have toxic masculine energy as a woman, right? It's because of unhealed trauma. It's because of your belief system, which there's nothing wrong with your belief system, right? It's just coming from pain, right? So if we are in our masculine as women, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's the toxic masculinity, right? But if we can still be in our feminine and be in feminine toxic feminine energy, right? And so we don't want to be in either. We want to come from this place of trust and wholeness. So first of all, who has heard that it's so healthy to be a strong, independent woman? Pretty much everyone. And we think that it's so healthy because we are independent, we're not needy, and we're not coming from this place of lack. But the thing of it is usually if you're a strong, independent woman that doesn't need a man, it's coming from a place of pain and lack, right? So when I was in my 20s, I married a man that had cheated on me. And so I was coming from this place of, okay, I need to make sure that no matter what, I am independent, that I am safe, that I am able to take care of myself, that I know what's going on in the house, that I know how to take care of myself in business, that I have a career where I will be able to sustain myself if something happens. And while all of these things are good, they are not good in the way of it's coming from fear. It's coming from a lack of trust. It's coming from actual pain that we have unhealed. Now, I am a strong, independent woman now, but I would never say that because it's already in my being. I don't act that way because I don't act the way I did in my 20s because I am coming from this place of knowing who I am instead of trying to prove who I am. So it's like a fine line. Okay, it's a really fine line. So in my 20s, I was like, don't carry my baggage. I'll put it up in the, when we go on trips, I would put it up myself because I wanted to make sure that I could carry my own baggage, that I could carry in my own way. I did all the bills. I did all the household stuff. I made sure that I was independent in my career and had money coming in so that I didn't depend on him. Well, really what was happening was I was afraid that he was going to leave. Right? I was afraid, and all of these things are really important, that we don't come from neediness and that we don't need a man. But when we come from this point of lack, of fear of being alone, right? And it's very hard not to, right? It's very hard not to come from this place of lack of, okay, what if something happens? What if he leaves me? What if he passes away? What if all of these things? So what happened in my marriage, because we were together for 12 years, was I did all the things. I was super independent. I did everything. I took care of everything. And I had a growing resentment for him because he didn't do shit. Like, I took care of everything, and I was really frustrated because he didn't do anything. I took care of the house. I took care of the bills. And I was really resentful, right? Well, I kind of created that on my own scenario so that he didn't do anything and he was 100% reliant on me. So I ended up getting out of that relationship because I knew my worth, right? I knew that this was the wrong relationship. It wasn't going to work out. I knew that I wanted something better. And cringy now. And I got into another relationship where I was like, I need a break. And I let him do everything. I didn't clean, I didn't cook, I like let him do the shopping. I just like totally 100% flip the switch, right? And not in a good way. So I was completely exhausted from my 12 years in the marriage. And this one, I was just like, someone's going to finally take care of me. And I already know that I can take care of myself. So I don't need to prove it anymore. And I knew that I was worth this worshiping scenario where he would do everything. But then that actually created a scenario where I was coming from lack again, neediness again. I was still a strong, independent woman, but I was going to take full advantage of this relationship. And I did. And again, that was not the right scenario. So when you are in a situation where people are taking advantage of you, walking all over you, you're walking on eggshells, or you're not truly being who you are, where you're trying to be strong and independent, then it just creates bad vibe, right? Because if you're coming from fear, you're going to drive right for the thing that you fear. And even though I did leave my ex-husband, I had this fear that he was going to leave me. And so at the end of the day, I drove right for my fear was that we wouldn't be together. Right. So I drove the relationship into the ground, and I drove my relationship after that into the ground by this fear and this neediness and swinging the exact opposite way. So a lot of times we're run down in our relationships, and then we come to the point where we're like, I am no longer going to tolerate this shit. And we swing the opposite way. When instead what actually needs to happen, what I actually should have done in my marriage, and I have no regrets for the record because I'm very happy, and everything led me to here, but what I should have done was I should have healed myself, done the healing work, and built the love, trust, and trust and intimacy back into my marriage, right? Building the love and trust and intimacy with myself first, and then into the marriage. And then if he still wasn't the right person for me, then I should have left. But what happens is we decide, okay, no more of this shit. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to make sure I'm strong and independent. And we come from, okay, if I was worthy, which I know I am worthy, everyone knows that they are worthy on this conscious level, right? Then I'm going to leave that person. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand up for myself. And when we stand up for ourselves, it comes from this toxic masculinity, right? When we become a strong, independent woman that doesn't need a man, right? That's all toxic. Right. So I love it when women say, oh, toxic masculinity. I'm like, oh, well, if you're saying that, you're probably coming from toxic femininity, right? Which we don't hear about because it's, whatever. So if you're attracting the toxic, there's probably toxic in you. So we have to really take a look at what is actually toxic, right? And so I went from toxic masculinity, strong, independent woman that didn't need a man, to toxic femininity in my second relationship, where I was like waited on hand and foot. I was treated like a princess. I got what I wanted. He took really good care of me, but it was coming from a place of woundedness. Is this making sense? I hope this is making sense. So we have to look at not only our behaviors, but why are we acting this way? What are our beliefs? Can we trust that this person is going to be there for us? Can we trust in the male, in men, right? Can we trust in men? And do we really trust in ourselves? And that's the most important thing. Do we really trust ourselves, or are we having to prove that we are a strong, independent woman? Now I'm in a place where I am a strong, independent woman. I don't have to prove it, but I definitely ask Marco to open jars for me and do a few things, right? I'm not above that. Like, I definitely ask for his help, but I don't really need it, but it's nice to have him there. So there's like a balance between where I was in my marriage, and then coming from strong, independent woman, and then neediness in my second and even third relationship, right? So now everything's different. Now he's there for me, and it's an added bonus. Now he's there and he helps me, and that's an added bonus. So it's completely different, right? I need him, but I'm not needy. I don't need him to do anything for me, but I need him to do stuff for me, because when we allow people to do things for us because we love them and we know that they love us, it's different. The other thing is our attitude around all of this, right? Because if we have this attitude that we don't need a man, right? It's a huge big dick energy, right? And that's emasculating, because even though Marco knows that I don't need a man, but without the attitude, right? I don't need him, right? He knows that I'm choosing to be with him, and that I need him. I need him because my soul wants to be with my soulmate. I need him because my soul has led me, I need him, but I also don't need him, right? So it's a weird, super fine line. But if I came with this attitude that I had in my marriage, for sure, right? I don't need a man. Don't pick up my bags. I got this. No, I'll take care of this. No, it's coming. If we're having that kind of control over a relationship, right? That shows that we have a lot of fear, and that shows that we have a lot of unhealed trauma. So we need to stop emasculating them. We need to stop emasculating men and stepping into our, toxic masculine energy, right? If we know that we don't need them and we don't have the attitude, obviously, there's a trust that person's going to be there. And there's a trust in myself that if that person can't be there, that I can back myself. I can fully back myself. This is a big thing. Let me see what else. Okay, so again, it is not that you're a strong, independent woman and you're intimidating guys. is that you have this energy behind it that I don't need a man. I can do it myself, right? And maybe you don't have that kind of energy that I had when I was married, but you still have this, I'm afraid of trusting. I'm afraid of needing a man. I'm afraid of that. The other side is you probably have this strong, independent man, but also have the neediness, right? So there's two sides to this. One, I just talked about my marriage versus my first relationship after my marriage. But you can also have both sides of the coin at once. So you can have like this desperate energy, this neediness, which definitely you can have that with the strong, independent woman, right? Strong, independent, I don't need a man, I can do it all myself. So really, if you have this deep connection with yourself, this trust in yourself, this belief that your partner will be there for you, and this belief in your partner, then everything changes, right? Because if my ex-husband had never cheated on me, if my dad never left my mom after 24 years, then I would probably be in a very different place. I would probably have just gone to the neediness, desperate, right? I would have skipped the whole strong, independent woman, I don't need a man, emasculating energy, right? But yeah, a lot of times we have this, I can do it myself. But it also comes from this, I have to prove myself to myself. I have to prove that I can make it. I have to prove that I don't need a man. I have to prove to myself. And that energy is bad as well. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, is what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a very fine line. If you know you're worthy, instead of like trying to prove you're worthy, which it takes time to like actually get there. It took me a really long time. In fact, my ex-boyfriend before Marco, I thought I figured it out. I thought I had this balance, but I was still coming from neediness. I was still heavily relying on him. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had a codependent relationship where I was depending on him so much that it created an imbalance in our relationship. And when we finally went to therapy, I was like, it's him. He's not doing enough. He's not doing enough. It's all him. And looking back, I'm quite embarrassed to say it was me. It was me. I mean, like, obviously it takes two to tango. But I had this neediness, and he could never do enough. He could never satisfy me. He could never provide enough, do enough, be there enough. Nothing he did was enough. So he always felt inadequate. Okay, so like all things, this is going to come to you being aware of the feelings and emotions that are inside of you. So if you are in a situation where you're feeling resentful, walked on, feeling like you can't trust, triggered, then you have to look at those feelings and address where that came from, right? Are you on the side of masculine, toxic masculine, or toxic feminine, where you're needy, insecure, desperate energy, right? Or toxic masculine, where you're in control and like you can't trust anyone and you're going to do it all yourself. And this is really hard because it's a fine line. It's not only just your actions. Where are these actions coming from? what they're coming from, these feelings, right? And now you can do something and come from fear and lack, or you can do something and come from total love and trust. And it can be the same action, but why are you doing it and what energy are you coming from? That's what makes all the difference. So really, this is going to be like a daily thing, checking in. Am I getting triggered? When I get that text, am I getting triggered? How do I feel? And checking in with your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, right? And being aware of the swinging pendulum, right? Being aware of where we really are mostly in our relationship right now, and the other side of that. Because usually we get so mad and frustrated from being on one side or the other that we swing the other way. And so if we just trust, and I know it's easier said than done, right? But we have to learn to work through those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and day by day take charge and really realize where we're coming from and decide to come from a different energy. And I know that deciding is going to be very hard, because you're going to feel triggered. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel resentful. And it's going to be for you to step back, take a breath, ground yourself, and choose something different. And then take action. Okay? And it's going to be something that you're going to have to repeat over and over again. It's not going to be an easy process. Because again, you can take action because you know you're worthy of more. But until you work through this process of actually healing and showing yourself the path of worthiness, then you're going to take these surface level actions and they're going to give you the same results. Okay. That is it for today. And I know there's going to be tons of questions, but just we'll talk about the questions and we'll work through everything. Okay.